views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome back for those of you that have been listening to us and for those of you that are just tuning us in, because not all the stations pick up both hours, but for those of you that are out there saying, yeah, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. We are glad all of us are here today. What a great show we've got for you. Mr. Benny, I want to give a shout out to you and say hello, Mr. B.
Howdly doodly, neighbor.
Howdly doodly, Mr. Benny today.
Oh, we're good. And Rachel says hi, too.
Hi, Rachel.
She waves.
What happening?
Say what up, Biggie. That's apparently her new radio name.
What up, Biggie?
Yeah, well, so we're going to start calling her Biggie from here on out. She's laughing. She can't believe I did that.
I have to tell you, we got another Biggie on the show today.
Yes.
One of my favorites. You know, I was trying to remember when I met Dr. Alberto. And Alberto is somebody that I was trying to remember this, Benny. And I know you were with me. And it was many, 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 many years ago. And not that many if you really think about it. But he was one of the first folks that I think we got to talk with on the show back when it was even, I think, crust busting your way to an awesome life. And so today it is so interesting that we get to talk with him again about a shaman's miraculous tools for healing. I love this. And who am I talking about for those of you out there? You know, when I think about people that have said yes to this amazing journey that we get to take, you know, as the wind blows us forward, you know, as we take our breath in, and we get to entertain the questions of our lives in terms of where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? What do we believe in? What is energy healing and shamanism? You know, what is that? What does each of us get to bring forth? We get to talk about Dr. Velodo. We get to talk about Dr. Alberto. And why is that? Because this is somebody that began a shamanic work journey before it was popular and being called to be part of the light energy and energy medicine that we are now knowing is one of the most powerful ways to heal, powerful ways to live. And so when we're talking with him about a shaman's miraculous tools for healing, what we're talking about is the idea that not only can we understand the power of this, but we can learn. And what is it that he has learned along the way? And why is it that in his life path, he is so willing to share? Now, many years ago, when he and I first chatted, you know, we were talking about, you know, energy healing. He is one of the great pioneers, by the way, of energy healing. When we were talking about this many years ago, this was before Dr. Oz came on air and made the big announcement, energy medicine is the next frontier. He was already doing it. And so today we get to look at so many things. This, you know, his book is fabulous. I love that we have stories in here. I love that we get to talk about the journey beyond death. I love that we get to talk about life, afterlife, and much more. Wow. Dr. Alberto, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Pat. Good to be with you again. And, it hasn't been that many years. I mean, if you look at it in geological time, it's just been like a fraction of a second. But it feels like a lifetime. And it's great to be back with you again and taking on the shaman's miraculous tools.
Yes. I love what you have been able to put together in this book, but more importantly, what the message is here. And I wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. You and I were talking during the break about our lives these days and what we're called to do. And yet, every day we have an opportunity to experience illumination. And I wanted to ask you about what illumination is, because you do talk about it and, how this illumination relates to the energy forces that operate not just out in the universe, but within us, within our bodies, within this earth skin.
Right, absolutely. Well, this is the crux of life. Everything in life is energy. From the, I'm always amazed at how we have this great relationship with plants, because they take sunlight and through photosynthesis turn it into plants, into plant food, and we take plant food, and then inside our cells, our mitochondria turn it back into sunlight. So this is just this wonderful relationship we have with all of life around us. And we've become so materialistic in the last couple of 100 years that we've denied the whole spiritual and energetic side. In fact, the spiritual has become so drenched and saturated with religion that it's no longer practical. It becomes a matter of faith and not a series of skills that we can develop and use to attain optimal health.
When we think about this, we think about, some of the things that we are being told, that we are being influenced by. And I wanted to ask you about this because this is called the Shaman's Miraculous Tools for Healing. But I wanted to ask you about this because there are some ancient teachings, right, that are so relevant to today in the world we live in. And I wanted to ask you, do you think we are opening up to getting back to the acceptance of some of these old teachings, as opposed to thinking that was then, this is now, they don't work?
We're getting back to the ancient medicine, and the ancient medicine is all about illumination. Illumination is not just only a state of consciousness. Mm-hmm. It is actually a physical state where you glow with the light and the radiance of health, because our DNA produces light. In fact, it emits light at a rate of 100 hertz, 100 pulses per second, when it's healthy. When it's not healthy, it gets dull and your light gets dim. And what the shamans discovered were tools and techniques for working at the level of the energy field that surrounds the body to heal the imprints for disease. So you don't have to live out your family story of cancer or heart disease or dementia, which are so prevalent today. And I think it's the incidences that we have of these horrible illnesses that are bringing us back to the old medicine, because they can prevent them.
I love your personal journey. If I could talk about it for a second.
Please.
It is, for me, when I think about this, and for those of you that don't know, we're going to make sure that you have a website to go to and find out more. But I'm thinking about you in your 20s, if I could. And I'm thinking about you like the youngest clinical professor, right? And I'm thinking about you, and here you are, and you're in this lab, this biological lab, and you're investigating how energy medicine visualization, okay, can change chemistry of the brain. And I'm having this visualization of you, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to ask you this question. When was your first connection to, or when did you have your spiritual awakening? Because I'm thinking about you in your 20s, and I'm telling you, I'm thinking about me in my 20s, and we are light years apart right there for a second. But I'm just thinking about it. What was your spiritual awakening, and when did it happen?
Well, I think that life has a way of awakening us, and it's generally through disease, through illness, and through challenges. And I think that my first experience of this invisible world of spirituality and of spirits and of the journey beyond death happened when I was very young, and I had a near-death experience in which I was out of my body for 3 days, and I was surrounded by these beings that were comforting me, and they were telling me that I had to go back. Mm-hmm. So, and it's something that I forgot. I was, very, very little, but that I remembered in my early 20s through hypnosis. I was able to recall what had lain dormant in my unconscious, and that really set my direction in life. I said, well, if the invisible world exists, if consciousness extends beyond death, if we're surrounded by information and by wisdom and by luminous beings all the time, how can we relate to them to create our health and to map our journey through this life that is not just about physical objects? It's about spirit. That's really the ultimate reality. It's a spiritual reality. And until we acknowledge that, we're going to be, running from hand to mouth our entire lives.
I love what you have been able to actually transcend and talk about. And we're going to talk more about this. How does our beginnings, whether you are from the Amazon and are being called to make sure that the messages of the wise, the shamans, get passed on to generations like Alberto has. How do we know that each of us can be tapped on the shoulder with our own version of wisdom and knowledge? And what is it that we can learn about these miraculous tools for healing that do transcend modern prescription, over-the-counter, whatever you want to call it, medicine? Not that one is not needed, not that we're saying that one is above the other, but what is it about the old ways that can bring forth the new way? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Almost everyone at some time in their lives ask themselves, what am I? Most of our questions are ego-generated and simply don't address the problem of our false self. It's time to relax your ego and embody your soul. Dr. Dan Cohen, neurologist, inventor, and author, has created tools to awaken, a new way to transform from who you thought you were into what you truly are. Visit toolstoawaken.com today.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Are you feeling broken from your relationships? Are you second-guessing yourself about friends, family, and lovers? Tune in to the hit show that's creating a buzz in the love-seeking community. Love Seeker Radio, finding love for your authentic self with renowned love coach Heather Lynn. Tired of dissatisfying relationships? Kiss them goodbye and power up your love seeker energy. Coach Heather Lynn reminds you that you can just be you, the beautiful and perfect you. Visit heatherlynncoaching.com to learn more.
The doctor is in. Tune in to the hit show, The Psychic Love Doctor, with host Deborah Lee. Deborah's life-affirming, highly perceptive reading method has taught Deborah how to zero in on specific problems with relationships, career pursuits, and current roadblocks to success and happiness. Join Deborah Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific, and for a special broadcast the second Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Naturopathic doctor, founder of the Martha's Vineyard Holistic Retreat, and author of the New York Times bestseller 21 Pounds in 21 Days, Dr. Ronnie DeLuce has helped tens of thousands of people, including celebrities and athletes, with her message of lifestyle change. Now Dr. Ronnie DeLuce wants to help you. You too can be saved. Email Dr. Ronnie DeLuce at info@ronniedeluceonradio.com and visit mvholisticretreat.com. Dr. Ronnie DeLuce, your partner in wellness.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is so great to have all of you join us, and I am certainly honored to have Dr. Alberto joining us here today, a Shaman's Miraculous Tools for Healing. And I just want to make sure all of you out there know how to find out more. I mean, it's amazing. So if you're going to go to Facebook, okay, which we do, then you're going to go to Facebook and you're going to look for the Four Winds Society, THEFOUR, Winds with an S, WINDS, Society. If you're going to do Twitter, it's going to be the number 4 Winds Society. And if you're going to go to the website, it's going to be the 4, spell out the word 4, FOUR, Winds, WINDS.com. And when you get there, what you're going to be able to find is you're going to have an opportunity to join the Four Winds Society. All you have to do is put your name in, and you're going to get all, and this is really exciting for those of you out there. Look it, you're going to get access to information from Alberto's, the free library. You're going to be able to look at studying energy medicine practices, learn about shamanic healing, achieve energy medicine certification. There's so much that he has put together for us as what I like to say, a culmination of what he learned at a very young age, his experiences, and what his gift is in taking this information to the world. And the greatest fear that we have right now is that the teachers, the people that are sharing and transferring the ancient ways and wisdoms are no longer going to be there to do that. And as a matter of fact, in my own heritage from South America, that is really part of the risk we run. We run not having the teachers, and I'm so honored that we do with this conversation today. Alberto, thank you so much for joining us here. And the book in itself, and I want to talk about a couple of things, kind of opening up the conversation to the book. The book is, it's just these wonderful stories, and it's amazing to me.
It's a miracle list. These are the what we did was to interview over 100 people that were part of our miracle list and to pick the 10 or 12 that best illustrated the different shamanic healing strategies. So let me tell you one of the stories.
Yeah, please.
That we did not include in the book. I have an office in LA, and I have a client that I see twice a year for prevention, because energy medicine is fantastic at prevention. And you don't want to end up with treatment. Treatment is after you get a diagnosis. You want to avoid that. But of course, we're not educated that way. But this woman walks into my office and she says, finally, the witch is dead. And I go, the witch? And I'm holding the door open for her. And she says, yes, the witch, my mother. And walking in right behind her is her mother's spirit, who had died 2 months earlier. And I say to her, she may be dead now, but now she's with you 24/7. And what she had to do, of course, at that point was to say the goodbyes that she needed to say, the I forgive yous, the I love yous, which are so much harder to say from the invisible world. And this is one of the things that we run across all the time, how many of our Western illnesses are due to relatives that had disease, that died from their illnesses, and that are still incomplete with the living, and they come and attach themselves to you and connect to you energetically, and you start exhibiting their symptoms that frequently just appear out of the blue. So this is something that talk therapy doesn't know how to handle. Medicine is going to medicate or cut it out. When you're dealing really with an energy or with a being in this case that is coming for help. Basically, they're coming for closure and for help. And we're picking up their symptoms. So there are many stories like that in the book. One of the stories that I love is the story of a ballerina who was a ballerina her entire life, and ballerinas don't have a very long life as a star. In her early 30s, she went and got a PhD in psychology, and became a psychologist. I saw her in her early 40s, and she could not walk. She'd been standing tiptoe in these ballerina shoes for so many decades that her hips were atrophied, and the X-rays showed that the head of her femur in both legs was totally black, no circulation, and she could break a hip at any moment. She could not walk 50 feet. She came to my office, and I started tracking for her, switching into the shaman's way of seeing, into shamanic seeing, and I perceived her field and saw that her hips, she had shards of glass as if she had been thrown through a plate glass window.
Oh my goodness.
And there were these big pieces of glass, 2-foot-long pieces of glass embedded in both of her hips. So I began to extract these energetically. And this is what the Chinese call stale qi, or toxic qi that's deadly. That's no longer a movement. It's very dark, stale energy that tends to gather around injuries. So I began to draw these shards of glass, and it took us 4 sessions, where I got most of it out in 4 sessions. By the 4th session, she was able to walk through the mall. And by the 6th session, she was able to go hiking in the mountains for a mile. But we had to remove these energies that were basically cutting her off at her waist. Mm-hmm. And again, these are skills that we have in shamanic energy medicine that are difficult to find anywhere else because we've forgotten about this. We've become oriented towards, we consider energy medicine prayer. Prayer is beautiful, it's wonderful, but energy medicine are a set of strategies, and there are 4 of them, and we can go into them in some detail if you want.
Yes, I would like to go into them because I think it's important for all of us to have a new understanding of what's possible. And you and I were talking during the break, in the busy world that we live in, and in the way that we are influenced, if we allow ourselves to be, by outside things, we walk away with a set of beliefs that would have us live a life that is quite limited in a world that doesn't really respond to possibilities. And when I read your book and I hear you talk about this, and and we look at what you're able to do with people and how people are able to do it as well, the world of possibilities opens. And I think by sharing this, we get a better understanding of these things. So I would love for you to talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that we need to know is that the shamanic practices are practical. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to grow corn with it, not just talk about it. And I'll tell you a little story. I was telling one of my mentors, I began as a medical anthropologist in the Andes and in the Amazon, and then I became a student of the shamans because I had to learn this firsthand to really study it. And I was telling one of the old Indians about chaos theory. Chaos theory is the butterfly that flapped its wings in Beijing and caused a tropical storm in the Caribbean. And I had a brand new PhD then. And the old medicine man looks at me and he says, interesting, show me. And I go, what do you mean show you? This is, quantum physics. He says, no, show me. If you can talk about it, it's because you can do it, right? Come on, flap your little doctor wings here and heal somebody in India. Mm. And I said to him, I can't do that. He said, I can. So they're eminently practical. If you're not practical, it's just more talk. And we have a lot of talk today about how we are an infinite being with unlimited possibilities. That's true. But how do we do it? And the shamanic techniques come from a tradition of the feminine. Mm. Our Western traditions are so masculine, even our spirituality, full of description, full of unlimited capabilities. But the feminine traditions are practical. How do you do it? How do you give birth to your healed and your healthy self? So that's the foundation.
Yeah.
You gotta grow corn with it. And then you can do the interventions. The interventions are four. The first one is the illumination process, based on an experience of infinity. The second one is the extraction process, where you extract intrusive energies or even entities that may be afflicting a loved one or a client. And this is all in Shaman's Miraculous tools for healing. And this is what we train our students to do at the Light Body School that I direct. The third is the soul retrieval process. How do you recover a part of your essential self that may have been lost as a result of trauma, of birth trauma, of trauma inside the womb, or even trauma from a previous lifetime, 2,000 years ago? And when you recover these lost soul parts, suddenly you become whole. It's like your life makes sense. You belong in this world, where before you didn't belong in your body, didn't belong in your family, you didn't belong in this planet. Suddenly you belong. And then the fourth are the great death rites. How do you assist a loved one, maybe even the person that brought you into this world, to make their journey back home consciously, back to the world of spirit? And this is a healing process. Even if you don't do the energy medicine training, you're going to want to know how to do this, because you will get to use it. We will all lose a loved one. And when we go, we want to be sure that somebody near us knows how to send us off so that we go straight back home and don't get caught in the purgatories and the bardos that are between here and the spiritual luminous domains that we want to end up in.
Yeah, I was reading a story in your book about this, the split that could happen. And it's one of the stories you tell. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what is this energy field and what is the work that can be done to clear what is referred to as some of these toxic imprints that have accumulated over the course of a lifetime or many lifetimes. Maybe not here, maybe many lifetimes. And why is this important to heal, to relieve our suffering at the conscious and unconscious levels? We got so much. There's so many wonderful stories in this book. A Shaman's Miraculous Tools for Healing. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the show.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Calling all dreamers. Are you living your dream life? Actualize your possibilities with Life Coaching Radio and your host, Deb Stetzer. If you're feeling stuck in a rut, Deb is here to help you turn your dreams into a reality. Life Coaching Radio. Dream it, live it, be it. To learn more about Deb, visit www.mylifecoach.us.
Do you want the freedom to spend more time with your loved ones? Travel the world? Live spontaneously? Get ready, because the Chip Justice Show is here. Hosts Dr. Pat Basile and Chip Justice can help you build meaningful success while embracing life. Living a life you love is the end game in this new, inspirational, and empowering show. Positive changes for a life you'll love. Tune in every month on TransformationTalkRadio.com and visit PositiveChangeInstitute.co for more information.
Tune
Tune in to the Angels and Answers Psychic Radio Show with clairvoyants Artie Hoffman and Sky Siegel every Thursday for a 2-hour show, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio. Artie and Sky deliver spiritual and motivational messages with passion and a sense of humor. Call in 800-930-2819 for live and on-air readings. Visit artiehoffman.com and skyofangels.com.
My dream is to end homelessness.
My passion is living a green life.
My dream is to end poverty.
My passion is volunteering.
My passion is making a difference.
My dream is to cure Lyme disease.
My passion is rebuilding communities.
My passion is helping those in need.
My passion is caring for the elderly.
My dream is to find a cure for cancer.
My dream is to leave a better world for my children.
We all have that special passion, that lifelong dream that drives us to live our lives with meaning and to create a better world. No matter what drives you, we can all make an impact. Dr. Pat Basili is helping others make their dreams come true, so we can all help make our world a better world.
To learn more about how Dr. Pat is building a community of sharing hope, strength, funds, knowledge, and information, visit abetterworldcrowdfunding.com today. That's abetterworldcrowdfunding.com.
Everyone, welcome back. As I said before, you can find out a lot more information. There's so much here when we think about the work that Alberto is doing and energy medicine and what the training is. And, we started this conversation with all of you to say, look, this is something that is passed on. This is what happens, whether you're looking at shaman, healer, sage, whether you're looking at the miraculous tools for healing, whether you're studying some of the traditions, whether you want to work directly with Alberto, you can go to the website, thefourwindswithanS.com. And what you're going to be invited to look at is not just the book we're talking about, but whether or not you are ready to heal, and whether or not you are ready to look at our lifespan and look at how we live in this world and clear out some of the energy that may be holding us back, some of the energy that's limiting us from living the lives we truly want, whether it's the toxicity that we have, uncovered for ourselves over time. There's so many things here. And we get to do it in a way that honors the ancient traditions. Why? Because they work. And so thank you, Alberto. It's really wonderful. And the website is absolutely, amazing. But can we just, before we jump back into the book, I want to talk about this for a minute because I know I'm not doing this justice. There are many ways that people can study. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have planned in this upcoming year for people?
Well, what we've done, Pat, is we've transformed our training program. It used to happen over 2 years, over 7 weeks, and now we've condensed it all into a 28-day program, 300 hours, where people can take either a full 28 days, which is a complete lunar cycle, or 2 14-day periods. But we work with the nutrition so that we have extraordinary food prepared by our chefs that is detoxifying and that puts people on the right nutritional foundation, eliminates toxins from the brain, from the body. And then we do all of the practices, clearing the imprints from the luminous energy field, the soul recovery, soul retrieval. But our interest is really to train people that are versed in the healing traditions, that can make a difference in the world, that can bring healing to their loved ones, to their communities, to their businesses, and for the practitioners that can bring this into their clinical practice because these techniques work.
Yeah.
I had one of our students call me and she said, I've just been diagnosed with a brain tumor. Oh. And this woman works at the Pentagon, senior advisor in the Pentagon. What do I do? So I sent her to see Dr. David Perlmutter, with whom I wrote a book a couple of years ago, a neurologist. They did the MRIs, big tumor, inoperable. And we begin to work. We had 4 sessions together. And she goes in to get her next MRI. It's gone. Now, she did the healing. It's not anything I did. I created the space, and because we heal ourselves, but we need the support.
Yeah.
And she goes to the radiologist, and the radiologist says, these things just don't go away. So here's like a negative placebo effect. They don't go away. She says, yes, they do. They do go away. So we have miraculous tools for healing available to us. The problem is that we've been educated by the pharmaceutical companies and by the medical establishment to pay a lot of attention when we get a diagnosis, but to put very little. We don't have the time. People tell me, I don't have the time to do your training. And then they get a diagnosis, and then they have all the time in the world to attend to their diagnosis. But we want to work it before these imprints in the field are somatized in the body, because then it's a lot harder. When we can work with it at the level of the energetics, you can clear the family history of Alzheimer's, of heart disease, of cancers, because these are all stemming from energy malfunctions in the system that trigger the expression of genetics, of DNA that is toxic. They switch on the genes that create disease, and you want to silence those. You want to silence those genes and switch on the ones that create health through the foods you eat, through what you think and believe, through how you love, and most importantly, through the energetics. You clear the blueprint, and the body follows. And that's what we train. But we were on to an interesting topic a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
One of our techniques is the soul retrieval technique.
Yes.
And recovering a lost soul part.
Yes.
And in break, I jokingly mentioned to you that we often try to do that by recovering our lost soulmate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a famous line from Jerry Maguire is, "You complete me." Wow. Wouldn't it be great if it were that easy, right?
Wouldn't it? I was having dinner with Brian Weiss.
Yeah.
And someone asked Brian, well, what about when you see that person that it's your soulmate? And this happened to all of us. We meet someone and we are smitten over the top. And he says, run away as fast as you can.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's generally somebody that you killed in a previous lifetime or that killed you. So that's so we don't want to heal it through our next marriage or through our children or through our bosses or through a physical ailment. We want to be able to clear it at the level of the energy field.
Yeah, I love what you just said because, boy, I'm telling you, it is one of the most powerful insights we can have right now. And you and I were joking a little bit, and I was thinking, boy, I wish I would have had that advice a few years ago for myself, right?
I
But
know.
we so think, and therapy says this, Alberto. This is, therapy says, the only way you're going to learn is through relationships. And you're in the middle of an agonizing relationship exactly the way Brian.
Are you kidding? That's the last way you want to learn.
but it's like, oh my gosh, I got to hang in there. I got to make it happen. I got to make it change. And then all of a sudden now, we're hearing, well, wait a minute. What is it about that suffering that's not going to get us to where we want to go? And there's a story in the book where you're talking about soul retrieval. I wish you would share a little bit about that.
Well, we've all suffered from soul loss, whether at an individual level because of trauma that occurred to us. And the way the mechanism works, Pat, is that when you have trauma and you integrate the circumstances of the trauma at the moment, you don't suffer soul loss. You don't suffer post-traumatic stress syndrome. But if you don't integrate it, then the trauma lingers. And the story becomes embedded in your field, and it becomes part of your past and part of your life story. And and then at that point is when you lose part of your soul. I'll tell you a funny story. We used to take expeditions to the canyons in Canyon de Chelly and the Canyonlands in New Mexico, Arizona. And there was an old Navajo medicine woman that I have befriended. And I would say hello to her every year. And one year we're sitting having a cup of coffee, and she says to me, "Tell me your story, Alberto." I said, "Well, we were immigrants. When I was 10 years old, my father left home. There was a revolution in Cuba where I was born, and I didn't see very much of him." And she goes, And I've always been looking for a positive male role model that I could look up to. And she kind of smiles and nods her head. And I ask her, "Tell me your story." And she was an old, wrinkled medicine woman. And she looks around at the canyon walls and she says, "The Red Rock Canyon walls am I. The desert wind am I. The child that did not eat today at the reservation am I." And I said, "Wow, what an interesting story. So much better than boy looking for daddy." And then a couple of days later, I'm on an airplane and I'm flying back to Los Angeles. And I fly a lot, so I get upgraded quite a bit. And I'm in the front of the plane. And in an airplane, you don't talk to the person next to you, right?
Yes.
So we're just so you're about to land. And the guy asked me, "Well, tell me about you." And I look at him and I go, "The Red Rock Canyon walls am I. The desert wind am I." And he gives me this look. He gets up and he moves 4 rows back into coach, thinking, "Who is this weirdo?"
Yeah.
Because, of course, I was still a broken-hearted little boy at 42 looking for daddy. And it wasn't until I changed my field that I was able to change my story. I changed the energetics, and then my life changed. Then I could change my story. I'm not looking for daddy anymore. I'm looking for enlightenment. And but you cannot change your story by lying about it. You have to do it at a cellular level. It has to be at a gut level. Every tissue, every cell, every muscle in your body has to support your new quest, which is what your story launches you. My story had launched me on a quest for daddy, and now my new story is basically launching me in a quest for Buddhas.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I'm really struck by in reading the book, and also if I could talk about this for a little bit, and looking at, the body of work that you do, and for folks that go to the website, thefourwinds.com, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's something really important about not just this book, Alberto, but the other books you've written and the journeys that you take people on. And can we talk about this for a minute, because there is this idea now that we can kind of take this next step in our spiritual journey through social media, through tweeting, through Facebook. We don't even read books anymore. We Kindle them or we listen to them, and it's almost as if that this idea to get out into the world and truly experience some of these rites of passages, which I was very fortunate enough to actually study with shaman, study with indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so fortunate to do that, back in 1997. And I'm telling you, I am one of the least unlikely people. I never thought I'd get out of the Bronx, yet spend 11 days or more out in the desert.
On a vision quest, huh? Yeah.
Right. I never thought that would be me. But here we are today. And we just are not talking about these experiences enough. And I wanted to take a few minutes for us to do that, if we could.
I just did a show a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a California radio show.
Mm-hmm.
Big listening audience, morning rush hour show.
Yep.
And the interviewee kept asking me, "Well, what can our listeners do in 3 minutes while they're driving to work that will help them upgrade the quality of their field and avoid the illnesses of old age like cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia?"
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
So people don't want to do the work anymore.
But I know the answer to that question. Can you answer it?
Yeah. The
answer it. So this is now my answer, because I'm now starting to get interviewed, and I'm getting ready to be interviewed about my book that's coming out on Street Smart Spirituality. So here would have been my answer: tell them to stop, pull off to the side of the road, go to the website, The Four Winds, and sign up for any one of the experience that are coming up in 2016 to take out into that. Because I don't really, did you have an answer for that?
Well, I did. That's what I told him to do. I said, I know, basically my answer was, you're in the wrong life. You want to upgrade your life without changing your diet, your meditation, and what's really a priority for you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to reprioritize. And when you make spirit your number one, your number two, and your number three priority, everything organizes itself around that. But we also have to understand that we have to buck the system, because governments and corporations make a lot of money by keeping people in fear. Mm-hmm. And the way that you break out of fear is by repairing and upgrading the brain. This is my book before this one Spirit Medicine, shows you how we can do that. Otherwise, we're all kind of marking time until we get, until life offers us a diagnosis. And the statistics are appalling. 20 years ago, autism, the diagnosis, 1 out of 20,000 children. Today is 1 out of 40. Alzheimer's rates, if you get to be 85, you have a 50% chance of diagnosable Alzheimer's. Out of 100 people, 29 will die of cancer, 32 of heart disease, and 35 will get dementia. And only 1 out of 100 will die in the arms of her beloved or his beloved at the age of 120 after great sex. And that's the one that we want to be.
Yeah.
But if we don't make time today, reprioritize today, it's going to be too late. And that's just the reality of it. We want to squeeze what's good for us into the spare time in our toxic lifestyles. And there's just something flawed with that kind of thinking. And this is what we're being sold, because between the medical establishment, the food industry, the pharmaceutical, they get us from womb to tomb, from birth to death. And we got to break out. And it's time for a revolution today in our health, in our food, in our diet, in our, we have to take the power back from the food companies, from the pharmaceutical companies, from the medical, not the doctors. The doctors are really good people, but it's the medical system that keeps us in disease-ridden conditions. So if we don't do start the revolution now, when are we going to do it? When we're 80? No. So it starts with making dramatic changes in our lifestyle, in our priorities, and with responding to the call from Spirit, saying, yes, I'm here, I'm available, and I can be counted on. How's that for a pitch?
That is a pitch. And, part of this is, if we're really looking at this from an energetic point of view, and this is something I believe in, which is really counter to, what is being put out there in the world. I mean, for me, we are so attached to the idea of aging and getting old that we don't really stop to think about the world of possibilities energetically. And, it's fascinating because, I sit here and I think a little bit about, energy and what the energy of living is about, not the energy of aging. And what would it take for us to really embody an energy that is literally clearing out the baggage of our past and opening up the door for an elongated, beautiful lifetime that transcends a number for us. And this is really fascinating, to think about how influenced do we get by turning on the TV and listening to commercials that constantly reminding us that our bodies are breaking down, that there's not much we can do about it unless we get a pill, potion, and lotion. I mean, it's really interesting. Our ancestors did not have this.
What's interesting, Pat, is that when the shamanic traditions were thriving and alive, which was the Paleolithic era, the human lifespan was reduced by 50% as soon as agriculture came in. as soon as agriculture, which was accompanied by religion and by warfare, all three were born around 7,000 years ago. Our human lifespan went from about 65 years to 38. It's incredible. And it didn't come up again until the early 1900s. So we're interested in having our health span equal our lifespan. We have the technologies today. One of them, like you say, is you got to shut off the television and the bad news. But you got to look at your diet. You've got to upgrade your brain. You've got to detox the body.
Yep.
And then you have to clear the field.
Yeah, thank you.
The luminous energy field is the blueprint that organizes the body in the same way that a magnet organizes iron filings on a piece of glass. Mm-hmm. And if you have heart conditions in your field, it doesn't matter how much you exercise or how well you eat, you're going to have a propensity to expressing those genes. Mm-hmm. So you want to clear the blueprint. And this is what the shamanic energy medicine practices are really good at doing. How do you clear the blueprint so you don't have to experience this somatically in your body? And this is all in Shaman's Miraculous Tools for Healing.
Yeah. It is. And, there's so much more for us, you and I, to talk about. And I know we've got a few minutes left, but I wanted to make sure we at least had a conversation. And I know that perhaps you can come back and we can talk about a show that's around this. I'm really struck by how much fear there is, even in the world where people say things are looking up. So much fear. And fear does take its toll. And I just wanted to know a little bit, if you could, the energy of fear.
Well, the energy of fear is the energy that's in the world right now. It's the energy of violence. And fear is the absence of love. So the only way to repair fear, first you have to repair the brain with the neuronutrients that are available to us today, because all of our brains have been affected by two things, by the fluoride in the water, which really destroys and it shrivels the pineal gland, which is responsible for our one spirit experience. And you have to eat right. And then you have to practice charity. You have to practice stewardship of the earth, and beginning with your life and with your body. And then everything begins to shift around you. And today we have to become fearless and practice fearlessness in times of great fear. But you can't do that by deciding to do it. Mm-hmm. You have to upgrade the field, the energy field, and upgrade the body. These are my last two books, One Spirit Medicine and Shaman's Miraculous Tools. And that's what we do. We train doctors and therapists and lay people in the art of energy medicine. And what happens, the very first thing that has to happen for you to heal is that you have to trust that the universe supports you. So fear has to go. And there are energetic ways of doing that are very effective.
Mm. Wow. Alberto, thank you so much for today. And again, thank you for all that you do. And one last question. What is your personal message for us? And thank you for joining me. What is your personal message?
I think that we're here to create beauty and practice beauty. And you start with healing yourself, healing others, and then you understand that we're here to dream the world into being.
Wow, thank you so much. And again, let's make sure everyone has the website. For those of you out there, you can go to the THE4WINS.com. Lots of information here, everything we've talked about. The calendar is up for 2016. Whether or not you want to go to Chile to study energy medicine, or whether you want to do something closer to home, there's something here for everyone. But the point is, are you willing? And then, are you ready? And then Alberto will help you get able. We'll see you next time, everybody.